Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Great to see you again. Your thumbnail reaction from the playoff games over the weekend and our Final Four now.
Well, not as fun as Super Wildcard Weekend was.
That's a fact.
That is a fact. That is a fact. I mean, we finished up strong. I thought the Niners-Cowboys game, although, low scoring, was really, really good, fun to watch. I think my overall impression is the AFC North's in trouble for a little bit.
Yeah.
The Bengals are really, really good. Wouldn't surprise me if they're the ones hoisting the Lombardi at the end of the day. They just don't care. They'll play anybody, any place, anytime, anyhow. And I heard you guys a little bit earlier wondering if Joe Burrow is borderline arrogant. I'd take him in a second.
I would too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, he's great. He's phenomenal. He's not scared. He has pinpoint accuracy. Those guys all believe in him. Mm-hmm. There's, there might be bravado, but it's authentic. And they're in really good shape. They are in really good shape. In part
for a long time.
They haven't missed. Obviously, they got the most important part of the equation, right, at quarterback. But they really haven't missed on their mid-round draft picks either. I mean, they've got guys that are contributing up and down the board. I think that's the biggest difference. Well, maybe just one of the biggest differences between the team 276 miles south and us is that they're getting contributions from guys they needed contributions from in their middle rounds.
Chris, let me ask you a question. You bring up the Browns and Bengals. What do you see when you see the Browns? Do you see a talent level that's here that can be worked with, or do you think that the holes are so gaping that we need infusion of a large number of new players?
Well, the only holes that were gaping were the ones on the defensive line when people were running through them throughout much of the year. So I would start there, obviously, and we know that has not been – I don't know why that exactly has been – I'm not going to say ignored, but put all the way to the back burner, right? We had the two Maliks in 2021. They both moved on. We went with a bunch of guys who, as I said, are kind of third and fourth round picks and said, hey, we believed in you. You guys are going to be our people and prove it to us. And I think what they showed was that we need help. We need a massive amount of help along that defensive front unless your name is Myles Garrett. And I think that he'll stick around. I would still give him another opportunity. Wink, wink. And then we really need to improve that part of the team. They need to get faster. And I think that has shown up. They need more contributions outside of Cooper and Peoples-Jones. I mean, this is nothing new, really. So there is a bit of a talent gap. And I'm surprised. When I was calling games in August, I was like, wow, this defense is as fast as I can remember. Even when our teams were great in the 80s, we didn't have the type of speed on defense that we did going into last year. And for a bevy of reasons, it did not work out.
Chris, what's the priority? New defensive tackles or another edge rusher opposite Myles? What comes first?
Both. Both. Yeah, I mean, whoever is best in the middle of that second round, you snag him. In years there have been more and more edge rushers available. I haven't really started doing my draft prep. So I sit down with our guru at NFL Network with Daniel Jeremiah, and I get like an advanced class in draft prep 101 every year. And so he kind of gives me a strength and weakness of each position, and we go over a ton of guys because we get this huge notebook in a couple of weeks with like 330 draft eligible players. And it's a ton of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's really cool. And even though I'm obviously studying, all 32 teams, I'm sitting there in the back of my head going, which one of these guys would fit just off of Lake Erie best? So, they need – I look at the Eagles next week, right? They had 70 sacks this year. They had 4 guys in double digits. We had 1 guy with more than 3 sacks. You tell me.
Yep.
Oh, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit, Chris. Thanks.
It's okay.
That's
I'm happy
sad.
to help you do that, Jay.
That is absolutely awful. Hey, what do you think of Jim Schwartz? Is he the guy?
Good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that I thought it was a little tricky from this standpoint that Stefanski has had 3 years, and it's been up and mediocre at best in some areas. So you have to know, and he's no dummy, he's been around this game for a long time, that they have to make a big step in the right direction next year. Does that mean they have to win the Super Bowl? Probably not. Does it mean that they have to be in the playoff mix? Very much so. And so there are going to be some coaches who would be scared off by that prospect. They all pay attention too. They go, okay, well, this is year 4 of this coaching regime. That's about the time where teams are going to make a decision on the future of a staff. So Jim Schwartz is a guy who had, you heard in his press conference, his bad health issues in recent years, has been around the game with Tennessee in a consulting role, but I'm sure he missed being on the sidelines. And as long as he got doctor's clearance, go for it. He's a guy to have. Hands the everything that's on Kevin Stefanski's plate as well. So he probably will go up to him and be like, I'm good. You go do your other stuff. We got this. So I think it was a good pickup.
So who do you like for the Super Bowl right now?
I mean, I said 6 weeks ago I thought the Bengals were going. I really believed it because I just think that they don't care where the game is played. Somebody has to explain to me why Kansas City will win, to be honest with you. Their quarterback is not going to be 100%.
Right.
Well,
home
if
field might
somehow
help.
magically. Really?
Yeah.
But the Bengals
Typically
don't care.
it does. Typically it
Joe Burrow hasn't lost a road playoff game. Most teams are like, oh my God, we got to go here, we got to go there. Until yesterday, Josh Allen hadn't lost a home playoff game.
Look
So
at
the
that.
Bengals
Burrow
don't. That's my
3-0.
point.
Burrow 3-0 against Mahomes head-to-head.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, I almost think there's
people
more pressure
will say,
on them.
well, Kansas City had a 14-point lead in that first game and lost in Cincinnati. They had an 8 lead in the championship game and then lost. And this year, I think it was week 13 or so, they had a 7-point lead in the fourth quarter and lost. So Kansas City had the lead in all this stuff. Okay. But I mean, last time I checked, we play a full 60 and then some, as in the AFC Championship game when it went overtime. I think the Bengals are really, really good. Really, really good.
Who do you like?
I think they'll face Philadelphia.
Eagles, or you like the Eagles then over the Niners?
Yeah, actually on opening night what was that? September 8th. Every opener, Thursday nighter, I tweet out who I think is going to go to the Super Bowl, and of course I'm miserably off base. I had Philadelphia beating Buffalo on that night, so obviously that's not going to happen. But part of the reason I picked Philadelphia, I got in a few days early when we did the joint practices with the Eagles. I watched the way their offensive and defensive lines were dominating, and I was like, holy smokes, that is going to be a real problem for the rest of the league. I said, I didn't think the NFC East was going to be that good. I was wrong there, obviously, but I could stockpile 13 wins, maybe seed in a bye. It ended up they did get the 1 seed, and they just thrashed the Giants. Now, Shanahan, I think, is an exceptional play caller, but he's going to have to really be on point because as miserable as Dallas's defense made it for Brock Purdy at times yesterday, that it's going to get cranked up a few notches with Philadelphia.
Chris, I'm wondering if Cincinnati does win this weekend, and I agree with you, I think they will, what's the narrative around Kansas City become? We've already heard a little bit of sort of not quite reaching expectations. Two Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl championship. If they fail to get back and Cincinnati goes 2 years in a row, do we start asking more questions about Mahomes and Andy Reid about being overrated?
I mean, you tell me. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is overrated. I watch him, and I'm amazed by his play. I think they have shortchanged him a little bit. I think the Chiefs, although the Chiefs have started the ball, and you have to do that to take some of the pressure off your quarterback. As amazing as he is, like part of the reason Cincinnati won that game yesterday was Joe Mixon had his first 100-yard game in 10 weeks. Right? They could not stop the run when they needed to. And it has become such a passing league, and it's so easy to throw the ball downfield that we forget sometimes when you get an 18-point lead, it might be beneficial to be able to run the ball effectively. And so I think that it's more a question of how Kansas City goes about their business, more so than Patrick Mahomes. There isn't one team. I mean, Patrick, I think he's as talented as we've ever seen.
Yeah, I shouldn't say he's overrated. I don't think he's overrated, but it's surprising to me that it will have been. I mean, when they first went to the Super Bowl and they won the Super Bowl, I thought the Chiefs were going to win 4 or 5 Super Bowls. And if they don't even make it back again this year, it's kind of shocking to me that I expected more out of the Chiefs than what we're going to get if Cincinnati wins. Now, if Kansas City wins, whatever. But if Cincinnati wins this game, I just felt like we would be seeing more success out of the Chiefs and more Super Bowl championships than what we've gotten.
I think it's pretty hard to get to the point that they've gotten 5 straight years.
Yeah,
that's why one team has only done it more often.
It's tough.
And I think we expect that if you've got your quarterback in place that you're going to get there every year. Well, Kansas City has lost some guys defensively. They obviously lost Tyreek Hill. There were a lot of pundits at the beginning of the year. It was like, well, no Tyreek Hill. This is the year. Denver's going to get him with Russell Wilson workout. Derek Carr and the Raiders made it to the playoffs last year. They're next step with Josh McDaniels. How'd that work out? And then the Chargers. So, there were a lot of questions going into the year about Kansas City, and they all just went, yeah, we're good. We're good. And now here they are. They're playing a home game to get into a Super Bowl for the last 5 seasons. I just think it would be some tinkering more than anything else. I just think we look for huge narrative. What's wrong with Kansas City? What do you mean what's wrong with Kansas City? They've been in the AFC Championship game 5 straight years. Sometimes you lose, and occasionally a team is better.
Hey,
Andy Reid fell victim to that in Philadelphia. I mean, if you go back when Andy was there,
absolutely,
he had teams that fans in Philadelphia felt should be playing for the Super Bowl more often than they did, and it was you could feel it coming. It's like it's almost the spoiling of a fan base. We know nothing about that, but it did happen in Philly, and to a certain extent, I have friends that are Chiefs fans that are saying exactly what you're saying. Okay, we're good. We want to be the best. Well, it's tough. There's a lot of other teams that are in that conversation.
Hey,
and now with these young quarterbacks in the AFC, whew.
Tell your friends, Jay, to go back to the days of Elvis Gerbach.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go see how that tastes
How
for
was
a little
that?
while.
Yeah, how was that?
Hey, Chris, let me ask you a question, because you talked about the AFC quarterbacks, Mahomes and Burrow. How do you think the Browns are able to get Watson back to a level that makes us super competitive? How do you think that occurs here?
Well, as much as we want to talk about the defensive tackles and getting a new edge rusher and making sure that the secondary is all on the same page, there's really one question. How does Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt get this offense to operate under DeShaun Watson the way it did with Jacoby Brissett? Because to me, if you had just done cut-ups of Jacoby Brissett's play the first 11 weeks and not shown anything else that happened in the game, you would have thought the Browns were at worst 6-5. Like, he played that well. And then you watch DeShaun Watson, and I get it, the 700 days between NFL snaps and all that sort of stuff. It was alarming. It was alarming. And I think that if they can't get him back close to what he was, then it's going to be an issue. It's going to be a major issue because of the draft capital you gave up, obviously because of the amount of money you've tied into him that's guaranteed. They have to get him believing back in his skills and what he's seeing on the field. Too much, and by the way, I kind of expected this. I think everybody was like, okay, if we're 6-5 by the time we get DeShaun back, we can go 5-1 the rest of the way. People forget how damn hard it is to play quarterback in this sport.
Yep.
It is hard when you're playing every day. I mean, go look at Dak Prescott, right? He played the entire, the back 12 games of the season, and he still looked lost at times yesterday. Granted, it was against the number 1 defense, but he did. So now you're taking 2 years off from DeShaun Watson. I didn't expect anything, and that's kind of what we got. He looked too much like Baker Mayfield, right? One read, back up, head to the right, and try and make a play. Like, I saw that script. That's why we moved on. So they've got to get him trusting himself, using his athleticism, being able to run, and hopefully an entire offseason where he knows that he's going to be there for 17 games will help.
Chris, I know you have a concernometer. We all do. I want you to break yours out on a scale of 0 to 10. 0, you're not concerned at all that he's going to return to what he was in Houston. 10, you're very concerned and you don't think he'll ever make it back. Where are you? Where's your concern level on the likelihood that he returns to what he once was?
I would probably say, 4 to 5 is where I am. Because I have seen him. I've watched a lot of DeShaun Watson football down with the Houston Texans. He made average receivers look really good. And even in years where their record wasn't good, he was still making tremendous plays. So we know it's there. It's got to come together. I mean, it's really the only question. Because the rest of the stuff can be fixed to the point where this team went 7-10. But how far away were they from being the 7th seed? Really not.
A couple of plays.
Fall on the onside kick.
Yeah,
don't throw the pick against the Chargers.
Exactly. A couple of fluky plays here and there. But, you hate to even use that excuse because every team can use the if game. But with the Browns this year, it really was
I think
jarring.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the point, is that they're not 4-13. The point is they were 7-10, and like a lot of teams caught right on the cusp of the wild card, there's a few things that you got to tweak, and then all of a sudden you're 9-8 and you're back in this thing, right?
Exactly.
Heading into week 18. That is the point. Is that yes, they are caught in the middle with a lot of teams, and what some teams have figured out their quarterback situation, like Pittsburgh. They don't have any question. They know that they've got their guy. I don't know how great Kenny Pickett will be, but he is certainly good enough to keep them in balls and perhaps win a few as well. The question for the Browns is, what DeShaun Watson are you going to get? If you get closer to the last 6 games of the year, they'll have no shot. If you get closer to what we saw at times in Houston, they've got a really good shot.
Has anyone heard from Zeke Elliott since last night? Is he okay?
Well, I mean, you can do. So if you can play center in this league, I suppose that's – we were trying to figure out last night where he's going to end up.
That's
where
a good
he's going to end
question.
up. Because, well, except in Dak's lap, which, God almighty, that is just incredible video.
I remember high school football drills that looked just like that.
I can only imagine when they're like, okay, let's run the play where Zeke. What do you actually digest that and go, yeah, this probably isn't going to work out great for me.
It's almost like, the odds of anything working were 1 in a million.
Right.
I mean, you've got over 70 yards to go. There's the conventional way of doing it, which you can't throw the ball 75 yards. So you're thinking you're gonna have a series of laterals and you're gonna take your chances.
Right.
That was one way of doing it, but I'm pretty sure that we'll never see that again.
What that reminded me of, honestly, was Varsity Blues when the fat guy goes, "Is this the play where I run down there and act like I'm lost?" Like that's exactly what came to mind.
Hey Chris, question: Who's getting roasted over the fire in Dallas today? McCarthy?
Well, once again, did you expect the Cowboys to go into San Francisco and win yesterday?
I did. I was very hopeful.
You expected them to?
I was very hopeful.
I expected them to cover.
Well, there's a difference between. Did you think they were the better team overall?
I thought the way Dak had played last week. I'm not a sold on a Purdy guy.
Chris,
right?
it wouldn't have been a mind blow if they had. I mean, particularly when you're looking at a rookie quarterback. I think everybody thought this game would be close. In the end, it was close. It was a one-score game.
It was close.
But no, I don't.
That was the best Dallas's defense has played in months. That was their defense played exceptionally well. Let's remember, the Niners had won 11 straight going into yesterday. 11 in a row. Yeah. They were beating teams by an average of 16.5 points per game when Brock Purdy was under center. So they're going against a rookie court. They were kicking everybody's ass. They were killing teams. Now, I get it. They weren't as good as the Cowboys. But you have to kind of throw Monday night's game out because the Buccaneers are terrible. They're only in the playoffs because somebody had to freaking win the NFL. If you rank the teams, if you did your own power rankings, Be honest. Where would you have put them? It wouldn't have been in the top half of teams. The Steelers were better. They didn't make the playoffs. The Lions, they didn't make the playoffs. So they're not in the top 10, in my opinion, 18 to somewhere around. So the Bills kind of didn't surprise. It's just they're a little short. I think the Amari Cooper trade burned them bad. They didn't have any they could rely on outside of CeeDee Lamb.
So you don't think Jerry's going to make any coaching staff moves?
No.
Did you see that he signed a kicker this morning?
Defensive coordinator.
Did you see he signed a new kicker this morning?
Yeah, man. Of course.
Do we have the picture of the new kicker?
I saw him. Yeah, he looks great. The thing is that with the helmet, he does. He'll keep the aging process down. So, that guy's he's actually only 28. So he's the Benjamin Button.
Hey, Chris Rose.
That's creepy.
The Cowboys cannot be bringing Dak Prescott back. They cannot. The people in Dallas are tired of it.
He's making $40 million.
What are the options?
I don't know. I don't know, but I don't see him under center next year.
Hold on. Okay, so your choices are Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr, and by the way, with eating all of this money that you would have to eat.
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett.
Baker Mayfield's out there.
Yeah, he is available. He can be had. He would sell some tickets.
Hey, let me ask you this. This is a hypothetical. Not that it would ever happen. It can't happen. But would you right now, if you're the Browns, would you take Dak Prescott and give up DeShaun Watson right now?
No.
Wouldn't do it.
Wouldn't do it. His face
Here's why I wouldn't do it.
That's interesting that everybody quickly said no.
Well, here's why I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
I think Dak is still in to run the football on a consistent basis because of that leg injury that he suffered in 2021. And we all understand that. Or we all, that 2020 but have to be extend plays with your legs. He had yesterday to run the football against San Francisco. It's one of the many reasons I liked the Eagles over the Niners this week is that they do have a little bit of trouble with guys who can keep plays alive and can beat you on 8 to 12-yard runs. We know that Jalen Hurts can definitely do that. I mean, he's second in the NFL in rushing touchdowns. Watson's legs can be a valuable asset to the Browns offense.
Well, we hope so. I mean,
last thing real quick. What's going to happen with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore? What's the resolution to that? Is there resolution?
Well, I've been on a couple of Baltimore radio stations, and I was like, of course he's going to stay. Like, have you seen the offense without him? I can't imagine they're going to do an about face and just unpack their offense again. Let's remember when he was a rookie, 2/3 of the way through the year, they changed their offense and took over for Joe Flacco. I don't think that's what they want to do in particular because they're not built for a downfield passing game. Like, they're built for Lamar Jackson to run it and to throw it occasionally. And let's remember, a couple of years ago, he led the NFL in touchdown passes too. But there's some weird stuff happening there. When you've got teammates like Sammy Watkins saying, dude, this is your chance to be a hero. This is your chance to come out of the locker room and say, I do have that Superman logo on my chest. So they really have to sit down, have a powwow together, and figure out what the hell is going on. I think he ends up staying. And by the way, I think it wouldn't shock me if it was on the franchise tag for $45 million, the exclusive tender. So I think that he ends up staying. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, it feels like it's headed for that franchise tag resolution, at least for the next season. Chris, always good to catch up with you. Enjoy the championship weekend next weekend. I hope it was a hell of a lot better than divisional weekend because after the Super Wildcard weekend, this past weekend was a bit of a disappointment. But we'll see. NFL is always known for bouncing back. Chris, always good, man. Take care.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.